Hello and welcome. Charles here with OpenDB. Today that's another episode of us learning Postgres, and today we'll be talking about Postgres installation. Um, so we'll be installing Postgres on an EC2 instance with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 as the OS version. So in order for us to install Postgres, we need the Postgres software. So let's go to Google and download Postgres from the Postgres official website. So I'm at Google, press download. So this first link here will take me to the Postgres official website. You can see the elephant head, which is the Postgres official logo. I'm going to go to the download page. Uh, so in this session, we'll be doing installation using the RPM packages. My operating system is Linux. If you want other operating systems, based on your operating system, you can do for Mac OS, Windows, SD, and Solaris. So I'm going with Linux, and my distribution of Linux is Red Hat. And let me just show you guys how you can get that information. There is a file on your OS level, slash OS release, lets you to your Linux kernel, Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 9.3. So I'm going to go Red Hat here. Now choose the version of Postgres that I want. I'm interested in version 12. You can select any of this version based on what you want. And the Red Hat family, version 9. And you can copy the script here and run it as a root user. So I'm going to paste the script in a notepad and run it one after the other. So now I have my Postgres installation script on a notepad, and I'm gonna go to my terminal, my server, and run this script as a root user. So in my screen, I'm gonna switch user to root. Pick up the first. You can run all of this at once, but I like to run it one after the other. So this is me setting up the Postgres repository. So this is what is installed. PGDB Red Hat repository for Postgres. And I'm going to pick up the next command. Uninstall any Postgres module that is existing on this OS. While that is running, I'm going to pick up the next command. Okay, that is completed. I'm going to install the Postgres 12 based on what we selected. So So these are all the packages that it installed. libicu, the Postgres 12 server, the Postgres libraries, sorry, the Postgres 12 client, Postgres library, Postgres 12 library, and Postgres 12 server. Now the next step of our installation will be to initialize the Postgres cluster. So we have the server set up. We now need to initialize the cluster using a utility in Postgres called initdb. Initialize the database. So what initdb does is that it populates the data directory with all the subdirectories, configuration files that Postgres needs to run. So our database has been initialized. The next thing we'll need to do is enable Postgres service, that's systemctl. Why are we enabling this service? So that if your server ever reboots or you restart the server, Postgres should come up automatically without any manual intervention by a DBA. So what it does is that it creates a symbolic link to the systemd daemon, so that each time the server comes up, it starts up Postgres on its own without manual intervention. So once we enable the Postgres service using systemctl, we start Postgres 12. So Postgres is running. We can check the status of Postgres with the service, systemctl service. Take away the sudo because we are already root. So this is what tells me Postgres service, Postgres 12 service is active and running. So that is how we install Postgres. And we can also see the default processes that will come with Postgres. And we have the postmaster process, which is the master process that kicks off all other processes. We have the logger, the checkpointer, the background writer, all of these different background processes that Postgres uses. And we can see a message here that tells us that our Postgres database server was started. We can see what port it's run is listening on, port 5432. Okay. So when Postgres is installed, it comes with a default user called Postgres. So I would like us to switch to that user. SU means switch user. So we are now connected as a Postgres user. We can verify that with UMI or just simply ID. So we can see we are connected as a Postgres service. Another way to check if Postgres is up and running on your system is by using the ps-ef grep command, right? We can check for Postgres and it will tell us that, oh, Postgres is running. And one way to do that is by identifying the postmaster background process, which is the background process that kicks off all other background processes. And every utility that Postgres uses is found in this directory, the bin directory. We'll talk about this later. And this is the data directory. When we run initdb during our installation step, what that initdb does was to populate this data directory with configuration file information that you use to manage Postgres. So that is our installation of Postgres. If I were to go into this bin directory, and list, you see all the utilities that Postgres uses. See, this is the master process we talked about, Postmaster. We saw initdb to initialize the database cluster and populate the data directory. And we'll look at some other good tools, pgctl, which is used to stop, start, reload, and restart the Postgres cluster. I'll look at the utility to connect to the Postgres database, which is PSQL. And we'll talk about the whole of this other utilities which are used to manage and administrate the Postgres database. So the first one I'd like us to use is PSQL to connect to our database. So it tells you your version of Postgres that you're running on, 12.17. And we are in the Postgres command prompt. We can issue our commands. As we'll see, you can execute SQL commands as well as meta commands. All meta commands in Postgres start with backslash. So for example, if I wanted to list the databases in Postgres, I'll do \L. So \L is a meta command to list Postgres databases on your Postgres cluster. So by default, Postgres comes with 3 databases: the Postgres database, the template 0 database, and the template 1. So we are currently connected to the Postgres database. Connections to the template 1 database. Well, template 1 is a dummy database. Connections are not allowed to it. Template 0, rather. Template 1, it's a database that is you can use as a template for other databases which you would like to create. So it's a blueprint, it's like a template, that's the what it says, to create other databases. And you can connect to it. So to connect to any database, while you're on the Postgres command prompt, use the \C, which means connect. So I can select this database, template 1, and I'm connected to it. And if we try to connect to template 0, we'll get an error because this is a dummy database. So it tells you database template 0 is not currently accepting connections. So by default, we cannot connect to template 0. I'm going to switch back to Postgres database. So you see this line, you are now connected to database Postgres as the Postgres user. Remember, I had to switch user from root to Postgres. Now we have default databases, Postgres, template 0, template 1. Let's look at the default users in the database. Postgres, this is the one user that comes with when you install Postgres, the Postgres user, and all of its attributes. We'll talk about this more in the subsequent lectures. So in order for us to install Postgres, we need to go to the official Postgres website, get the RPM installation procedure for the version that we want based on our operating system and architecture. And as the root user, we can run those scripts and then use PL SQL to connect to our database.